you want to say something nice about Pablo?
Yeah. Pablo is a nice guy.
Yeah?
He's a good guy.
What did you guys do with him here?
Huh?
What did you guys do with him?
Have fun.
Yeah?
Pablo Blackwood, race and ethnicity lead at QPR. I've been at QPR, like you said, since 2013. I actually came in on a 6-month contract, summer of 2013, and 10 years on, I'm still here. So I've seen a lot of changes on and off the pitch. I've seen a lot of changes within the community trust. The work I do has varied over that 10 years, whether it's within the community trust, whether it's with the actual academy and with some of our first team squads over the years. First role I came in was within the education and inclusion team, and it was a project called QPR WorkFit, delivering sports qualifications, people that were trying to get back into employment. We were training them up, then putting them on work training, employability training, and getting them out and about in the community. Before that contract finished, I got approached by my then manager at the time and the CEO of the community trust, Andy Evans, who then asked me if I would like to extend the contract. I then went from the education team, so I was part education, part inclusion. I went all into the inclusion team essentially. It's looking at how we are as a club from a cultural competency perspective. So whether it might be, Black History Month or Diwali or whatever events are going on, it's making sure that we're kept up to speed, training, like awareness. But the best way to describe it is make sure that we are culturally competent as an organisation. Remember it very well, vividly, driving into work, seeing the plumes of smoke. Because my family are in West London, I remember getting phone calls that there was a fire in Laverick Grove. And like a lot of people, I didn't know how bad it was. But literally, it was just all hands on deck. We literally got involved the day after. We went down to the site of the fire. You may not know, but there was no official assistance at that point. It was just the community. And we were just knee deep in amongst the community, helping people to move things. We were using the trust vehicles to transport people out the area, bringing them to hotels. You may recall that the stadium became like a depot of donations and stuff. And I remember coming back to the stadium and just being loads of food and nappies, baby equipment, clothes. So again, we just went into, get it done mode at ground zero, as I call it, because that's what it was like. And just being present, supporting, because we worked so closely in the community, it meant that as tragic as it was, we was able to support them because they knew us. We didn't go in there as, strangers. So yeah, looking back, I look back with a lot of sadness, but a lot of pride in how we conducted ourselves as an organisation, as a football club, as a community trust. Fast forward, we continue to support the local community in terms of what we did as an organisation. So we had game for Grenfell. We were heavily involved in assisting the families just to kind of maintain some form of normality. Football's got a great power to do that. So we were involved with going down to the hotels, sitting on the coaches that the FA put on to bring them down to Wembley for the matches at Wembley that the FA was allowing the families to go to. I think it's no surprise when you hear, our trust CEO speak about his role. Former director of football, Les, came from the area. For those of us that are living in around West London, and whether we're QPR fans or not, the club is a special place to us. West London's a special place to us. And naturally, you're going to be drawn towards the areas that you come from because that's part of your identity, it's part of growing up. It was a milestone for us as an organisation, and I think it's a personal milestone in the sense of having someone from the royal family, the future King of England, come down to want to hear what we did as an organisation. We don't do the job for those kind of occasions. I was awarded, like an award for the work I'd done with Grenfell, and I remember struggling to do my acceptance speech because it didn't feel right getting an award on the back of a tragedy that affected the whole country. And William coming down, Prince William was the same. He came down essentially because of what happened at Grenfell. But what was really nice, he came down and he was genuinely interested to find out what we done, how we done it, but more importantly, what is the legacy? What are we continuing doing? Because as you can imagine, that level of trauma for people is going to stay. Someone that was 5, 6, you know, they're now in their teens now and how that's going to manifest. So it was really important to be able to tell him what we did, what we're doing, and what we will continue to do. So we shared what our immediate assistance looked like. So what it was like, you know, day one, like I said to you before, you know, whether that was going down to the site of the, you know, fire, helping people, transporting people to the hotels that they had to go to, food collection, clothes collections, toiletries collections, bringing that down to people, then putting on special sports sessions. You know, again, you know, football's got a brilliant role to play. So being able to put football sessions on for some of those young people for a very tragic time, to be able to just take their mind off of what was going on for a brief period, that was powerful. And just, you know, just like allowing the community to know we were actually there. That's what we do, that's what we continue doing. We're still heavily involved in the community, we're still heavily involved with the local schools. You know, whether that's in like a mentoring capacity. I personally get involved with the NHS, so the Grenfell Wellbeing Centre at St Charles Hospital, a Team of Life programme. I kind of head up that, and that's literally looking at football analogy, looking at the young people that were victims of Grenfell and how we support them. So we use language like, you know, so who's your goalkeeper, who protects your goals, your dreams, who's your centre forward, who helps you achieve your dreams, who's your midfield player, what would your motto be, what would your home kit be. So we use these football-like analogies to support the young people, but it also then identifies where they haven't got the support. I was out in the States coaching. I got asked to attend a reception in Whitehall. Lord Lieutenant of Greater London was there, a gentleman called Sir Kenneth Elisa. Big fanfare when he came in, and all rise for his Lord Lieutenant Kenneth Elisa. So I'm kind of looking at my shoulders, checking my shoulders. Well, I don't know why I'm here. Fast forward to being in America and getting an email from the royal household and cabinet office. Official email, Mr. Blackwood would like you to consider to be a Deputy Lieutenant of the Commission. I'm not going to lie, I had to Google it because I didn't know what a Deputy Lieutenant was. Now I know what it is, and there's a whole uniform in place. It's about building bridges between the community and the monarchy. So some of the roles that I have to fulfill are when the royal family come into my home borough, Kensington and Chelsea, I'm the person that meets and greets them, and then passes them on to the community or the person that they're visiting. I'm also involved with the honours list, so if people are nominated for an honours within Kensington and Chelsea, I'm the person that does the assessment, British citizenships. So essentially the biggest part of it and the most important part of it for me though is the community aspect. I'm able to shine a light on unsung heroes, people that are doing some fantastic work under the radar in the local communities. So that is, I don't know who nominated me. I'd love to find out just to tell them thank you. But yeah, I have the initials. Those of you that see emails from me, you'll see it says DL. It doesn't mean down low, it means Deputy Lieutenant. That role for me definitely shows how far I've come. I'd be lying if I said when I started working for QPR, I'd be one of the few people in the history of England that gets to be called a Deputy Lieutenant. Looking back at the historical significance of a role like that. And I'd like to think that the nomination was based on my work that I do within the youth and communities, the work I do in and around championing those that are disadvantaged, marginalised, trying to be a positive presence for some people that don't have much positivity. So when I first started back in 2013, I was lucky enough to get involved with some of the projects that QPR were doing back then. So I've been working in Wormwood Scrubs and across other estates, as they call it, within the prison establishment. The work in Wormwood Scrubs essentially started off as a personal development programme. So every week I would go in there using football as a tool for personal development, using it to give all the leadership skills that we know football can offer people. That would then allow the prison to then get men to play football, but then use it as an opportunity to address some of the behavioural issues or some of the boundary setting and stuff like that. Then I got asked back in 2015 to attend a roundtable discussion at the Ministry of Justice with David Dean. That essentially was where my conversation with the Twinning Project came about. So David Dean expressed he would love to do this initiative called the Twinning Project, where he gets football clubs twin with their local prisons. He was aware of the work that I was doing at Rome with Scrubs, so part of that discussion. And then since then we've successfully held a number of projects, graduations, and we now have our first official Twinning graduate employed by the Community Trust. There's a number of other people that have been part of the program that we delivered prior to that have been being employed by us. So it's about giving people opportunities to make better choices. It's about using the power of football, create change, inspire change, create opportunities, and not write people off just because they may have made a mistake. Kicks is something that started way back in 2006, and initially it was led by the Met Police. What the Met Police done, they identified hotspots where young people were, for want of a better term, not doing what they should be doing. They approached football clubs and said, if you could put on some provision at this time in those areas, we think it would address some of the criminal behaviour that was going on. We are one of the Tier 1 funded football clubs. That means the Premier League Charitable Fund, who funds the Kicks project, recognise that we are up there as examples of good practice, best practice. It's free of charge. Young people can come down, they can participate in football practice. We have workshops, we have tournaments, we have mentoring through it, targeted kicks. So it kind of becomes like a real central focal point of our engagement for young people.
Adam, get him a play. Can you play now? Can you play? Can you play? Can you play? Yes. Green team, we need support.
The Friday slot is intentional. So Friday 6 till 8 is a time slot that we've identified with the Safer Neighbourhood team as a time when young people, it's the weekend, they've finished school, it's that kind of time when they might potentially go and do things they don't want to do or might regret doing. Not all young people are doing that, mind you, but it's just a time that we identify. So giving them an opportunity to play football, you came down, you saw what they're like, we give them some ownership, just give them an opportunity to be young people, but also in a structured way. It's not a coaching session, it's not soccer school, but what we'll do, we'll set little challenges within the game. We'll ask them in their teams to pick 3 different type of goals. So they're not just playing for the sake of it, but it's giving them a safe space, a space that they can come together, be young people, and hopefully set them up for the weekend, I guess, ultimately.
And as we speak, you've just given a talk to some of the staff at Heston following Black History Month. Could you tell us what was spoken about and the importance of giving those kind of talks?
Yeah, this year's theme of Black History Month is saluting our sisters. So whilst that was a part of the talk was also about why we have Black history, the importance of it, but also contextualising British history and world history, and giving people an awareness that Black history is actually part of British history and world history also. For me, it's very important. I'm sat here as someone that's British, proud of my British heritage, proud of my Caribbean heritage. My great-grandfather came over here in 1939, died in the Second World War in 1940. Ship was torpedoed in the North Atlantic. So for me, that's basically world history. Within my role as a race and ethnicity lead, it's part of my kind of JD, for want of a better term, to use the opportunity of what Black History Month affords us to raise awareness about the historical context of Black people, contributions to society, civilization, outside of the normal spaces that Black people get recognised, which is normally running, jumping, entertainment, singing, So there was quite a few, ooh and ah, I didn't know this, didn't know that, The fact we were there, talking for so long is, I believe, a direct correlation between how diverse we are as a football club, but also creating spaces where we can have those conversations. Those conversations don't happen unless people feel able to have those conversations. Being uncomfortable, being comfortable, if that statement makes sense, we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I think we are unique as a football club, the makeup of the football club, the workforce. When you allow people to bring their identity, their authentic identity into their workplace, it can only enhance the workplace. People feel comfortable. If people are comfortable, they're able to be the best version of themselves. If people feel able to express themselves however they see fit, once it's obviously in a non-discriminatory way, etc., then that can only be better. If you think about how rich and diverse society is, we should be a representative of that. We should reflect that, and I think we are one of the few clubs that does definitely represent the community that we serve. So my great-grandfather left Jamaica in 1939. His ship was torpedoed, I believe, in September of 1940 in the North Atlantic. So essentially that was my family's introduction to Britain. I guess it's the best way to kind of, look at it like that. What does that do for me? It meant as a young boy growing up, I always saw on the mantelpiece this scroll, H. Williams gave his life for king and country, fighting the tyranny of World War and so on and so forth. I'm not gonna lie, as a young boy, I didn't know what it meant, if the truth be told. But I do know as I got older, seeing my granddad observe, poppies, wearing a poppy, standing still for 2 minutes, silence, seeing him cry, something I didn't do, see that much. And then speaking to him and realizing that he was 12 years old when his dad left Jamaica. He acknowledged that's the first and only time he remembers seeing his parents have an argument, was when his dad said he's going to go and fight in the war for England. Fast forward to me growing up in Chelsea, southwest London, playing for my local team, and then being subject to racism, being told those words that a lot of us got told back then, go back to where you come from, and kind of going home and thinking, my granddad, he lost his father, so my great-grandfather fought in the war for you to tell me to go back to where I come from. I'm not having that. And that kind of instilled a sense of purpose in me to use my position whenever I can to speak about my authentic self. So a lot of when I do my presentations and talks, I'll always incorporate that because I believe it's who we are. Our past experiences, our interaction with other people make up how we present ourselves. I don't know many other people that have this scroll that says, gave his life for king and country, fighting the Great War of Tyranny, and so on and so forth. But so for me, it's very important. It's a bittersweet memory, if I'm being honest, because it makes me think this man died in the middle of the North Atlantic, torpedoed in the middle of the morning by a German U-boat, literally middle of nowhere. We didn't get to bury him. My granddad didn't get to say bye, but as a family, we remember who he is. And when I wear my, poppy, I wear it for him, essentially. 2018 Football Blacklist Award, again, similar to the Deputy Lieutenancy, I'm not going to lie, when I got the nomination come through, I was like, that doesn't sound too positive, Football Blacklist, what have I done? But then fast forward to gaining some understanding, and it was for the grassroots and community section, in particular work I'd done around Grenfell, so it was very emotional, bittersweet, because it's nice to be recognised for the work that I did and I continue to do. It made me feel immensely proud. It made me feel privileged to know that I've been recognised by an award that's sponsored by the Premier League. And I remember sharing the stage and the other people that was there, and Darren Moore and Chris Houghton and players on the pitch that year that I won. Mo Salah was there, all these great names, people that you kind of look up to. So to know that I was there in my capacity, representing myself, the football club, the community that I love, was a big honour, and that sits on my mantelpiece, pride place. In terms of being honoured, recognised for my ethnicity, it's something that, it's like a lot of things, like Black History Month. In an ideal world, we wouldn't need to isolate me being a black practitioner in the space that I operate. However, when I spoke to Leon Mann, one of the founders of the Football Blacklist, and I got to understand why he came up with the idea of it, and the reason why he then wanted to name it the Football Blacklist and what it was about, I recognised that it was a way of making sure that we have representation. Unfortunately, we come from a people that have been historically excluded. Even though we're a global majority, we're a minority in terms of representation. So I appreciate and understand in the context of society, these kind of awards have to be ring-fenced sometimes to make sure that the right people are recognised. However, when I'm out there doing the community work, I'm not a black coach, a black practitioner, a black mentor. I'm Pablo, the QPR guy, just doing my job. Happens to be black.